The Yolobox Pro. What is it? Who is it for? And should your church buy one? I'm going to tell you my thoughts in this video. Well, if you're new around here, my name is Ryland. I'm a worship pastor, and on this channel, we talk a lot about using technology in our churches. Yolo reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in reviewing this product, and it's got a lot of interesting features that piqued my interest as a longtime ATEM user. I've used the ATEM Extreme, the ATEM Mini Pro. We have two of the ATEM Studio HDs, and I have a new ATEM 2ME sitting right back there that's going to be installed soon. So this is a totally different kind of go at a live streaming box. It is a glorified tablet, essentially. It's a touch screen monitor that includes a bunch of ports like 3 HDMI inputs, a USB input, Ethernet, HDMI output, USB-Cs, headphones, audio inputs, SD card for recording, and even a SIM card input that you can use a SIM card to do for your live streaming. So it's a very unique kind of all-in-one device, and that is what intrigued me. So I put this unit to the test, and I want to share some of my thoughts on what I think is really cool about it and some things that can be improved upon. Let's talk some of the pros of the Yolobox Pro. First of all, the touchscreen on it works really well. It's very responsive. It feels just like my iPhone, and it just works. And that's kind of different. It's a positive, but it's a negative as well, because not having any actual buttons to feel and touch meant that as I live stream, I had to physically look at the screen before I switched to anything. Where on an ATEM, you have physical buttons that you can kind of, feel. But for what it is, the screen does work really well. Other strengths are that it can record and live stream to multiple places, multiple destinations all at once. It has included, you can load graphics and videos onto this unit, which is a big frustration if you've ever used an ATEM, that you have to have a separate computer to run graphics into the unit. But let's think of this for churches that are live streaming. Typically, we're going to have a computer input anyways. So while that's a strength for maybe one-off live streams or gamers or something like that, sports teams, I could definitely see this being a great unit for somebody live streaming sports. It's even got a scoreboard built in. I don't know that it's a huge strength for churches because we're going to have computer inputs anyways. It's battery powered, which is kind of cool because if a power outage happens, and you do have a SIM card in there, I guess you could keep live streaming, or you're just not going to have to worry about glitches. Kind of like if you have a laptop and the power goes out, your laptop stays powered on until it kicks back on. So that's a bonus for that. The built-in battery lasts quite a long time. I did a full live stream for 2 hours, and I think it got down to about 15%. So those are some great pros of the Yolobox Pro. But now let's talk about some things that I don't like. First of all, I'm not crazy about the actual layout and form factor of the Yolobox Pro. I think that if they would have located all the ports instead of on top of the unit, actually extended the bezel a little bit lower and had all the ports coming out of the back like a normal monitor would, it would just make cable management and things like that so much easier. The way it is now, you kind of have to get 90-degree adapters or something like that if you're going to not have the cables just floating off the top of this. It's just kind of awkward and weird. And while it does have the 1/4-20 mount on the bottom, which is handy for making it in a position like this where you can actually see it to touch, not having a built-in angle to the unit is odd. You can't just sit it on the desk very naturally where with an ATEM, like this, the tabletop mount, you can just sit it there and the cables come out the back. So that's one of my major things I just really don't enjoy about it. It's just the actual layout of the Yolobox Pro. And speaking of HDMI, the HDMI output that you have on this, it gave me some fits and issues, which is a concern for me because I could see you taking this program out of this and actually sending it off to a live stream destination on its own or somewhere else in your building as a church, right? To your hallways, things like that. It was kind of laggy, and it just looks like the frame rate of it may not be exactly what I'm sending, so I'm sending 29.97 into this, and on my monitors it was lagging, had some weird issues, and I've seen other people make comments about that as well. I guess I could hook it up to a decimator and see actually what frame rate it's sending, but I didn't get that far. It just a little bit of a concern for me there. Also, audio was giving me some fits on this. It's got a line in and a mic in that are both that headphone style 3.5 millimeter jack. And coming out of my Tascam that I always use to send audio into my ATEM, didn't change any settings. It was super overdriven, but the audio meters on here were barely in the yellow. So, and that was on the line in. And then I tried just switching it over to the mic in, and it barely made a difference. So I had to really adjust a bunch of stuff on my signal chain just to get it to sound okay. And then along with that, this headphone output that they have available on it has a significant delay to where you can't really monitor in real time. And so I gave up on that very quickly. So it's kind of clunky too. Some benefits that it's got is you can go in and kind of manage each audio inputs levels and stuff and give them individual delays, which is a bonus over the ATEM, right? The ATEM, you can only do frame delays. This, you can do milliseconds on whatever inputs you want. That's a good thing, right? But if the audio just doesn't sound good in the first place, then it doesn't really help me that much. I haven't spent months with this unit, so maybe, that could just be tweaked and adjusted. But compared to the ATEM, it's got some really strong audio features in the ATEM, all the lines. Another weakness that I found was just this whole workflow of scheduling streams. Most people are going to be using RTMP or link to a YouTube channel maybe. And, if just the way you had to schedule it on the Yolobox and then go into your YouTube Studio backend to actually customize things like the thumbnails and some of the settings of the stream was a little clunky to me. And if I scheduled a thing on my YouTube backend, it didn't show up here where I could just click on it to start the stream for that. So that was a little odd. The comment sections on here where you can live put the comments up, which would be cool if you're doing like a pastor Q&A or things like that. Handy feature, but those don't work if you're using RTMP. They only work if you stream directly from this to your YouTube channel. So it just seems a little clunky. I know they're pushing their YOLO Cast platform, but I think it's about $100 a month, and I'm still really liking Restream for that, and it's just a lot cheaper in the long run. So, I'm a little hesitant to recommend, that at this point to churches. Another annoyance that I had was the SD card that you use in this. It has to be formatted as exFAT. And so mine are all, they were all formatted for Mac OS. So I had to go in and kind of adjust that and reformat and then reload the files on it. You can load videos like this video that's playing currently is loading off that SD card, which is nice. It's handy. And you can record to that same SD card, right? So that's nice, but just another quirk. So I know I kind of pointed out a lot of things that were annoyances to me, and really my experience with this has been that it's kind of a jack of all trades and master of none of them. I do think, though, that this does have a place for certain churches. So who is this device right for? Well, I think for churches that are mobile and set up teardown churches, this could be a really handy unit. It's got the screen built into it where it's an all-in-one unit. You don't have to drag out monitors and things like that. You can stream straight from it with 3 different options with the Ethernet, the Wi-Fi, or the SIM card. And I think for churches, maybe you're setting up in a school and you don't have access to an Ethernet hardwire. This is great for that. I did a full live stream here over Wi-Fi for 2 hours. It worked great. It doesn't bond those 3 together. There are some little workarounds you can do to load on Speedify and things like that. That would be handy if you could just bond those signals together. That way, if one drops out, the other picks up. But the fact that, you have 3 inputs really. The 4th USB, you could put like a webcam onto it if you really wanted to. And it does seem to convert the signals between computers and cameras to all work there. So I think for a mobile setup and teardown church, maybe meeting in gyms, meeting in schools, that would be great. It would have been even better if this thing could have been rack mounted with the ports coming out of the back of the unit instead of on top. And then you could put some rack ears on each side and then just have it all on a rack when you come in and come out and you're ready to go. That would have been amazing. But I think for a church like that, this is something to look at. Another weakness in consideration is the way you would get lyrics into this unit is a lot tougher than on an ATEM. I've seen some videos out there and it does not look fun. There's no Luma key. There's no easy way to bring in a pre-multiplied key, no adjustments. You can just do green screen type stuff, which I don't think is the best way to do it. And so I think that's a big weakness as we consider getting our lyrics into the unit. Like it is on an ATEM, it's so much easier to do that. So I'm still going to say, look into the ATEMs if you're trying to up your live stream game, if you're not a setup and teardown church. Well, I want to thank Yolobox for sending me this unit to test out. I'm really interested in another product that they have. I think it's called the YoloCast. It's a vertical streaming device that sends your stuff to TikTok, Instagram in a vertical format, which looks a little more interesting to me. And I'd love to get my hands on that and try that one out. If you want to see how we're using our ATEM in conjunction with ProPresenter to send different content simultaneously to our live stream, you can watch this video. And remember, guys, we can do a lot of great things. Let's do it all for God's glory. See ya.